how to rid your sinus and lung mucus with salt. But you need to understand what type of salt, because if you use the wrong one, it can actually burn the sinuses. Now, this is really an immune reaction, okay? And there might be microbes involved. There also could be a fungal infection involved, or even a mold infection, or even a viral infection. And the reason for that is that antibiotics only work on bacteria, not on mold, not on fungus. Salt creates what's called an osmotic shift. What does that mean? It means that it's pulling water out of something. So what it does to the bacteria and fungus and mold is it sucks the water out, making that microbe dehydrated. It's dead, okay? What it does to the mucus is it actually takes the water out, so then everything is thinner and it can actually move out of our bodies. Now, one of the really interesting things about this mucus is it's super common to have it react to mold. Sometimes it also can be histamines in foods, but the other really important part of this puzzle is vitamin D. Vitamin D is one of the most important nutrients to support the immune system, especially if you're predisposed to mold or you're predisposed to having sinus infections or lung infections. And because people don't get enough sun, especially during the winter, this is why they have more problems in the winter with their sinuses than during the summer. One last thing about food. A lot of times just eliminating dairy. So many people have a sensitivity to dairy that can create more mucus. If you have a sinus problem that's chronic, okay, suspect a fungal infection, the salt's going to help with that. If you have more of a sinus problem during the winter, suspect more of a vitamin D deficiency, and the amount of vitamin D that you really need is about 50,000 IUs per day. Get your vitamin D with K2 and add magnesium so it can work a little bit better. But I would take your vitamin D closer to the evening, so when you go to bed at night, it can work all night long. All right, so now let's talk about how we're going to use the salt as a rinse. There's a couple different ways you can do this. There's a thing called the neti pot, where you're putting warm water in there and you can dissolve like a half a teaspoon of Himalayan sea salt. That's the one I'm going to recommend. I'm not going to recommend table salt, because table salt many times has additives. Okay, another little addition that I highly recommend if this is a big problem where it's chronic or it's more severe, is to take a Q-tip and put a little garlic oil, like I'm just talking a few drops, on the Q-tip, and go inside each nostril and just spread it to create a powerful anti-pathogenic effect. The third thing you can do is just get a pot of water, okay? And in the water, you dissolve some salt. I might recommend just like 1 tablespoon of sea salt and dissolve it in there and let the steam come up to your sinuses with a towel over your head. Another couple things I would highly recommend that you drink and consume are apple cider vinegar 3 times a day. Not straight, but just take a tablespoon and some water, okay? Drink it down 3 times a day. Don't forget to inspect your house for mold. There's different home tests that you can do. The other thing I would highly recommend is you want to cut out all sugar and starch, because guess what? Fungus and mold love refined carbohydrates. And I would also recommend avoiding any dairy as well.